Hi, this is Marta from Ruby Soup with Pearl Juice, and today I am bringing a review of Slutet av Regnbågen, roughly translated At the End of the Rainbow by Bibi Andersson. This is a comic book debut from 2017. Bibi Andersson has before done small comic strips and drawings for other anthologies as well as for other newspapers and such. And the reason why I was interested in reading this comic is because, as you can see from the cover, it follows an elderly woman and it takes place in a senior home that is for older LGBTQ people. When I was at this year's comic book festival at Stockholm, I was even lucky enough to meet Bibi Andersson and have this book signed. And Bibi Andersson has said that the inspiration for this comic came from her interviewing elders that were on the LGBTQ spectrum, and from there she got the idea for this story. And what is this comic about? Well, it follows Marja, who is 76 years old, and she reluctantly checks into a senior home for LGBTQ elders because her home is being renovated. And she has just lost her lifelong partner, Anne, who has tragically died. And Marja, at the beginning of this comic, is keeping everybody at arm's length. She doesn't want to make friends. She doesn't want to socialize at all. She just wants to be in her own world and in her own grief. But seeing as this is a romantic comedy / feel-good story, things don't quite go as such, and she starts to open up and she makes new friends and finds new love. And this comic is a combination of Marja's story as well as the other members of the senior home. We follow one woman who is from Chile and she is also trans. We follow one American woman who is a Black American and also a lesbian. We follow two gay guys, and we also follow one gay guy who is from Pakistan. So it's very diverse, both racially as in sexualities and gender. And the comic is really good in that while it is very feel-good and it shows this community that the elders have with each other and how they support each other and are just having a blast because they are in a senior home, they're all retired, they can do whatever they want. That kind of freedom that is very hard for maybe young people to understand, but when you're retired, then you just feel like you can go and just live life and enjoy life. And it's balanced out with these flashbacks that we have to all of these characters that take place in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And for instance, Marja, she had to be in the closet her entire life because she felt that her parents wouldn't understand, and even her partner's parents didn't really support them being gay. And we also follow the trans woman who talks about what it was like to be under Pinochet, and she used to be, like when she was still living as a man, then she was a political prisoner, and there's stuff about torture there. And then they also show how when she then later transitions into a woman, then all of a sudden her buddies from before don't want to have anything to do with her despite that they've been through this trauma together. And it's very, very sad and heartbreaking, but that pathos is balanced out with the fact that despite these sad past events and despite all these struggles that these people have had to go through, then in this elderly home, they are making friends, they are even having romances with each other, and they are just so happy and just supporting each other. And they have movie nights and they have parties, and it's very heartwarming. And I thought that is actually a really good message, that despite hardships that we might have in our lives, then things do, even if we don't always see it, things do get better. And everybody does find their community eventually, and we can overcome pathos and tragedy in our life by then living life and enjoying life later. And I thought that that is a very interesting, very optimistic way of looking at life, and I really enjoyed that theme. And that is also combined with Marja, who she's grieving at the beginning of this book, but at the end she actually finds new love. And one thing that I just personally really liked about this graphic novel is that it's super accurate about how it portrays Sweden and all different demographics that we have in Sweden. Marja is actually Finnish, and in her flashback she speaks Finnish with her parents. And there's a scene where she bakes Karelian pies and talks about how she used to bake these pies with her grandmother. That is basically the national food of Finland, for those who don't know. And Finns are the biggest demographic of immigrants in Sweden, but they don't get all that much representation in Swedish media. So I was so thrilled when I read this comic, and I was so pleasantly surprised to see that the main character is a Finnish immigrant, and it's just not there for inclusion. It actually is a part of who she is because she speaks the language and she eats the food. And I do have to say, like, the one con that I think this comic has is that it is a debut, and you kind of do notice a little bit of pacing problems there, as well as this is 176 pages long, and considering like all these stories that all these people have gone through and all the different complex backgrounds, and this kind of like Marja grieving and having to learn to open up to people again, things go a little quickly, and I do feel like maybe 20 more pages would have helped a little bit. But that all being said, it is still very moving, and it's a very quick read. I read this in one day, so if you have any free time, you should definitely pick this up. It's really fun, and I have to say, like, I hope that this is a beginning of a new trend where we can have more comics about elderly people and about men and women of a certain age. That's a little bit lacking in our very youth-obsessed culture. So, that was a very quick review of At the End of the Rainbow. Have any of you read this comic, or have any of you read comics that are about women and men of a certain age? Comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe. You can even click the little notification bell if you would like to know when I have new videos up. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye!